Hello everybody and welcome back to Extra Holiday Games. I'm Extra Holiday and we're going back to the Lost City. We're gonna get the gems this time. Or the gem, I guess. I mean, hopefully we'll get multiple gems, but getting the one gem for this level would be nice. Yeah. Okay. Oh hey, and I have reset all the free lives since this is a new badge. Nice. There we go. All right. Just trying to get a hang for the controls again. It's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing's the matter. Everything is fine. Tokens, right? Need those. Need both Tana tokens and Brio tokens in this level. Okay. All right. Okay. Hit the box, not gonna need it. Fricka. I did the thing that I did so many times last episode. I'm not happy with that. Not happy with myself there. Whatever. I'm just gonna noise. Alright. What really is there else to say about this level and what's going on here? I mean, we've been through this many times. And like, I know I had like a week-long break between last episode and this, but you all didn't. So I can understand if you're not super hyped to see this level again. Probably just saw it. Probably just watched the last episode. If I had to guess. Be kind of weird if you watched this episode without watching the last one. But not that I'm judging. But, you know. It's wrong. Anywho, yeah, I don't know. I almost convinced myself that the reason I'm recording right now is to briefly take my mind off D&D stuff. Well, because I came to the realization today that for like the past week, I've been doing exactly 3 things, and that's going to work, you know, my paying job, working on the channel, you know, what you're watching right now, and doing D&D stuff. And, yeah. I don't know. It's just, I've been working on D&D stuff for a few hours tonight, so I figure, you know, why not do one of the other things? One of the other 3 things that I apparently do. Okay. Alright. We made it to the checkpoint. That's pretty neat. Those checkpoints, they're pretty handy. Just need to not die trying to get on the checkpoint, and then get all the boxes in the rest of the level. Okay, I was really expecting you to jump sooner, sir. Oh, right, I forgot about this trick. Oh, thank God I didn't jump over it again. Alright, let's do this. Yeah, as far as D&D is going pretty good. Oh yeah, I did talk about this in this series. The shifter class that I've been working on is almost done. I've got the first 12 levels more or less sorted out, but I've kind of hit an issue where there's like 1 or 2 levels where I need to add stuff. And also, interesting thing about 5th edition D&D is for each class, which, you know, I'm making a custom class, that's what I'm doing here. For each class, there's like a decision point in each class. It's usually level 3. Not for all classes, but for most. Where you choose like what type of class or what type of character in that class you are. Like, for example, a fighter chooses their martial archetype. Basically, you know, what type of fighter are they? Or a... Well, for a wizard, oh my god. For wizard, it's at level 2, and they choose an arcane tradition, right? And there's a number of those. The shifter class currently doesn't have that decision point. Every shifter has the same abilities, basically, aside from whatever, you know, racial abilities they might have. So if I want to be in line with the rest of the 5th edition classes, I kind of need to make that decision point. And I have the space to do it because, like I said, I have a few levels where I need to throw something on there. And they're not exactly the same levels that are typical for the other classes to get their features at. They're, you know, specific features for that specific choice. But it could still work, you know? It's just, and I have a decent idea of what I want to do. Because the whole lore scenario behind the shifters, and here's a heads up person who I know is watching this, and well, who might be watching this, and, you know, might be in my campaign. You know who you are. The lore thing with shifters is that they are more common at the edge of the known world, because that's where the world is still being created. So they get like infused with the energy of the god that's creating the world, and that's where they get their powers from. So, kind of what seemed to be the most obvious choice for me for a, you know, decision point type of thing, you know, where you can decide, okay, what kind of shifter am I, is, okay, what like edge of the world are you closest to, or did you get your powers closest to? You know, where were you born, basically, and that kind of determines what your powers are. And so that seems like a decent idea to me. The only thing is, I don't know what abilities I'm gonna put for each area, because like I have distinct areas for the different edges of the world, if you will. Like the eastern edge is an ocean, so, you know, I could do powers based on, like, you know, being out at sea or the water, or even like storms. And missed that. The northern edge of the map is mountains. And so there's various things I could work with there, you know, have, you know, maybe like stone properties or whatever. You know, the western edge of the map is a desert. So it could have to do with like fire, or the opposite, you know, because you want to be able to find water in the desert, or like it could have to do with desert oases or something. And the southern edge is kind of the hardest one, because at the moment, like, the map's not set in stone, but at the moment the southern area is farmland, and I'm not sure how I would work those into a specific set of powers, but I could maybe figure something out. I don't know. I'm not especially confident about this idea right now, just because I don't have a ton of ideas for the specific powers, and maybe they're just going to be small things that have just a slight influence over, you know, your playstyle. It seems that way. Well, for some of the classes, it seems that way for other classes, but some classes also seem entirely different based on where they go at their decision point. I wish I knew the actual term for what that point in the class was. I don't know what that design element of the class is. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep calling it a decision point, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't have a lot of ideas right now, is all. Nothing that I'm super hyped about. And also there's just this idea of, well, I based the class off of the power set from from fuck. Yeah. I based the the class off the power set from Gravity Rush, and I basically used every power that's in that game just as base shifter powers. And also there's the idea of how do I incorporate, you know, the regional influence with specifically gravity powers. Because if it's just like, oh yeah, you're from the mountains, so you're resistant to cold, that doesn't really seem like it has anything to do with controlling gravity, or manipulating gravity. Actually, you don't really control gravity so much, but I don't know. I'm short on ideas is all. And the ideas I have don't feel like particularly good ideas. I don't know. I almost wish I was a physicist of some sort, so that I knew everything to know about gravity. Well, I guess even physicists don't know everything about gravity, but so I knew more about gravity and how it interacts with things. Like, I mean, just brainstorming, right? If we were doing the Eastern Shifter, which is, you know, the sea area. Oh yeah, I died, so I need to restart. Okay. If we were doing an Eastern Shifter, it could be like, okay, so how does gravity interact with water? Or like lightning or whatever. And my first thought in, okay, how does gravity react with water is like, well, water will tend to fill the whatever container it's in based on, you know, where gravity is. So, like, if you've got like a glass of water, then the water will roughly take the shape of the glass, as in, like, roughly as in the surface of the water isn't going to be the exact shape of the glass because the glass has an open top, but, and then you pour it, say you pour it into a wine bottle for whatever reason, then it's going to take the shape of the wine bottle. So, but, like, I don't know where I would go with that. Like, see, now that I'm talking about it out loud, right here now, maybe it could be some sort of, like, shape-shifting thing? Like, Eastern Shifters? Oh, wow, that actually, like, pun-wise, that makes a lot of sense. Like, in terms of wordplay, because they're shifters, right? If they were shape-shifters, that would kind of make sense. If they could change their own shape based on what's around them, I guess? That'd be interesting. Like, I could reasonably explain that as, oh yeah, they're using the gravity as the force that changes their shape. You know, kind of like pressing on clay. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that idea. I guess we'll see. Like, how does gravity affect things in the desert? If we're doing a Western shifter. Western shifter from the desert, where it's really hot. Like, I'm not gonna say there's not gravity in the desert, because that would be dumb. But I guess, you know, things in the desert, there's sand and sand and a little more sand. Sand also shifts with gravity, kind of like water, which is interesting. Like, since it's hot, you could maybe say, oh, it's fire? Like, how does gravity affect fire? And that's actually something I might look up, because how does fire operate in a zero gravity space? That's probably something that we know, right? Because we have people who've gone into space where there's zero gravity, or effectively zero gravity. And, you know, they've probably lit fires up there, right? How does that work? I'd probably have to look it up. I can't exactly do that right now because a little busy. I don't know. What else? Mountains. What do mountains have to do with gravity? Well, falling off a cliff sucks, but shifters are kind of already good about falling off a cliff and pushing people off cliffs. Because shifters have an ability at level 1 where they can roll to negate all fall damage, which is pretty neat. I think that's kind of one of my favorite things about the class. One of the things I feel like I was most creative about was just how to deal with fall damage. Because that's the thing, right? If you're making a class that's going to be sometimes flying, sometimes not flying, you're gonna have to deal with falling, right? Because what happens when a shifter runs out of their resource, I'm calling it gauge. When they run out of gauge and they're in the air, is they just fall to the ground. And so, right, they need some way. They need some way to at least mitigate fall damage, if not totally neutralize it. And one of the other things I kind of wanted to capture with the class was just the feeling that you get in playing Gravity Rush, where you never really feel like you're totally in control of your powers. A lot of the times it feels like you're just kind of like careening in a direction vaguely where you wanted to go. And that's something I kind of wanted. I think that's one of the fun things about Gravity Rush. 4, 5. Oh, no, I was wrong. Oh, I have no idea. 5. Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing there. I think that's one of the cool things about Gravity Rush, though, is that even when you get good at the game, it still kind of feels like you don't know what you're doing. And so when I was thinking about, how do I want shifters to mitigate fall damage, it's like, well, I don't want it to be just they're immune to fall damage, because that was my first thought, is just make them immune to fall damage, because Cat in Gravity Rush is immune to fall damage, which you know, make sense for a video game, but it doesn't make as much sense in D&D. D&D has specific rules saying you take this much damage when you fall this distance. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. Ah, crap. Thought I was going to bounce again on that. Yeah, my first thought was make the character immune to fall damage, but that didn't really capture the idea I was going for of like I wanted there to be some sort of risk. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to using your powers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because it always felt that way when I was playing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. Okay. Right, so yeah, I wanted there to be some feeling of risk. So I didn't want to completely mitigate fall damage, but also I concluded that I didn't want shifters to have a ton of health, because that wasn't really... I hate how you can't spin them when they're on the ground. That wasn't really... Crap, where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, right. I didn't want them to have a ton of health. So, because I also wanted them to... I was kind of afraid that it would be too hard to hit a shifter, largely because they'll be in the air about half the time, and also because there are certain abilities I gave them that make them harder to hit, like the fact that whereas most characters only use their dexterity and their armor when they're determining how hard they are to hit, I have shifters, kind of like monks and barbarians. They have unarmored defense, which means they have both their dexterity and another stat feeding into their dodging ability, more or less, you could call it. Their ability to avoid damage entirely. That's the more mechanical explanation to it. So I knew they were going to have a relatively high AC armor class. That's the stat I'm actually talking about. I knew they were going to have a relatively high AC, at least in the beginning anyway. So I was like, nah, I don't want to give them a ton of health too, because I don't really want them to be a tank. That was the other thing that I wanted for the classes. I wanted it to feel right that they were so mobile. And usually things that move around a lot or move quickly, they're not large. If you think about, you know, an elephant versus a mouse, to use I guess a classic example of two things that contrast, mice can get moving really quickly, whereas an elephant takes a little while to get up to speed. And so I wanted shifters to be more mouse-like than elephant-like. So that's why I was like, okay, so they're gonna move around a lot, so they shouldn't be like bulky. And kind of the one of the stats that determines bulkiness in D&D is HP. But also I didn't want them being hit too easily, right? I wanted to go with this idea that, you know, they're they're very limber, so they're hard to hit. And so I was like, okay, so low HP but high AC. But the problem with having low HP in a character who's going to be falling to the ground a lot, and I kind of already told you how I addressed this, but the problem one of the other problems I ran into was basically at level 1, a shifter without any of the abilities I designed to mitigate fall damage could have lost more than half their health just falling 10 feet. And that didn't really fit the idea I was going for. Once again. So I was like, yeah, need to do something about fall damage. Don't want a lot of health, but I need to do something. And so yeah, I gave them an ability to have a chance at completely negating fall damage. And I like it. I like that ability that I came up with. I think it's pretty cool. And it took some fine tuning. You know, initially I had it set to just a set number they had to beat to totally mitigate damage. But then I was like, that doesn't quite feel right, you know? It doesn't quite feel right. It's not quite, it's too hard to do at level 1 and it's too easy to do later in the game. So it's like, all right, how else can I do this? Well, what if I made the difficulty, and this will probably make sense when you hear it. What if I made the difficulty of the act, you know, mitigating fall damage, what if I made the difficulty scale with how far you fell? Because the farther you fall, the faster you're going to be going, and the harder it would be to react to the fact that you're about to hit the ground. So it's like, all right, but then I had to, you know, I had to work out the exact numbers, and it was, and I feel like I got to a pretty good spot, you know. It's the numbers work out pretty well, so that it's not. So that it's easier at later levels, but not impossible early. And the player actually has the option to make things harder or easier for themselves based on, you know, how high they go before they fall. You know, that is something that is within their control. So yeah, feeling pretty good about that feature. Yeah, there's still a few things that need sorting out. And they will get sorted out, and they will probably be sorted out before I finish prepping everything for this one shot, because there's still like a couple weeks left, and I'm sure I'll probably come up with ideas between now and then. Alright. Almost done. We're almost done with this level. We can do it. There we go. Okay. I just need to remember that I can't spin the jumpy dudes. That is... God, it's really annoying. It's like... Insane Trilogy, Slippery Crash. Ay, ay, ay. You know what? We're gonna beat this level next time. But, as for this episode, that's a wrap. Shifter? I hardly know her.